Yo, welcome to the Wrap Up Podcast. Once again, I'm Stefan here with another Wrap Up Podcast short. Once again, shout out to my man Fresh, who's on hiatus right now. Got a lot of things going on. Be sure to check him out on Caso.com as well as Caso Kicks for all your sneaker needs. I actually got a shirt on right now, a new release, the Duck Genius. So if you're feeling this, let me show it to you one more time. Check them out at CasoKicks.com for all your sneaker updates, sneaker releases, and be sure to follow us as well on the Wrap Up Pod. That's all social at the Wrap Up Pod. So we're going to jump right into it. As you know, the last couple of weeks we have been doing shorts, so it won't be before you too long. It's just a couple of things we want to get into. First off, yesterday being Saturday, October 3rd, I wasn't really gonna go here with that, but I think I had to, just based upon the significance of that particular moment. And what I'm referring to is Meg Thee Stallion and her Saturday Night Live performance. As an artist, you can say what you want about her via she has lyrics, she doesn't, another female MC talking about her body. However you want to spin it, you can do it whichever way you want. But I wanted to bring this up specifically just for the message that she sent during this particular time. As you know, earlier this summer, she was involved in an alleged shooting with Tory Lanez, and she garnered a lot of news from that. You can feel however you want to feel about that. Me, I don't have any opinion on it. I don't know who's telling the truth. I don't know who isn't, so it's alleged to me. But the performance in itself was a standard Meg Thee Stallion performance or a standard SNL hip-hop performance. A lot of lights, dope backdrop, dancers, lyrics, production. There you go, SNL. But what stood out for me was in her first performance, during actually one of the breaks, the beat break, she kind of took that moment and took a stance in terms of what's going on in our community and in our country at large, where she actually was a torchbearer for equality and rights, not just for women but for men as well. But was the shock to me was the denouncement of Daniel Cameron, which is the Attorney General for Kentucky, and he's under allegations or suspicion of hiding evidence or really not doing all that he should have done to convict the officers. So that took a lot of guts for once being a female, two being a female MC, being a black female MC, and having the gall to do such. A lot of people can say that it was a spin to take off from the Tory Lanez thing. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. For her to be able to do that and in front of the audience that SNL captured, remember they've been on for 46 years, and to be able to capture that moment was, to me, that's hip hop history right there. A lot of people may disagree. That's why it's the Wrap Up Podcast and Stefan is the host. But yeah, I think it was significant. The reason, once again, why it was important, because it shed light. A lot of people may not even know who Daniel Cameron is or even heard about the case. But for her to put the name up, meaning I'm talking to you specifically, black man, black brother, and this is what we're going to talk about. You handled this situation wrong. I'm telling you, you handled it wrong. The community feels that you handled it wrong. Where is your accountability? And I think it took a lot of gall for her to do that. I don't want to say balls, but it took a lot of guts for her to do that. And we know SNL is kind of left anyway, so they didn't have a problem with doing it at all. They've always kind of been on the forefront in terms of their comedy and calling a spade, if you will. So just shout out to Meg Thee Stallion. Was a big move, was a great move for hip hop, a great move for music, a great move for the women's movement, a great move for the black movement at large. So shout out to her for taking a stance there and not being afraid to not being afraid to speak out truth. If you that's let's call it what it is. She spoke the truth, and shout out to her for that. So moving along, I wanted to initially start the show with a couple of album reviews, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick to one particular album in particular, just because of the cultness, if you will, of this particular group. And if you guys know, when you mention hip hop, new album, and cult, we going with Griselda. So I wanted to get a little bit more in depth with the Westside Gunn album, Who Made the Sunshine. So it released on Friday, but before we get into that, it's a lot of projects released. YG released. Who else released? 21 Savage and Metro released. We got a new RJ Payne album released. We got a Cyrock album that released. So it was a lot of music you had to go through last week. Even if you didn't get through a lot of it, it's just a lot to go through. There were some misses. I'm just going to throw mine out there. I think the 21 Savage project was a miss. The RJ Payne album, dope. The Cyrock album, dope. The YG album was pretty good. I know I'm leaving some off, but that's what I can remember up front. But let's get into Westside Gunn. So Who Made the Sunshine was the name of the album. He previously released Pray for Paris earlier within the year. We kind of had mixed emotions in terms of a lot of people thinking that the album sounded kind of commercial. Yeah, however you feel, okay. In this particular project, I think it was okay. I don't think it was a bad album. Have I heard better from Westside Gunn? I would say yeah, and I would preface, Pray for Paris as well as Supreme Blind Tale is probably two of my go-tos from Westside, and maybe the first Fly God, and of course the Hermit series. But those are mixtapes. But the production here was on point. You got, of course, staples within Griselda. You got the Beat, Butcher, Derringer, The Alchemist, and my favorite track on the album was produced by Just Blaze, and that was 98 Sabres. But what kind of tweaked my ear a little bit was the content, or lack of, if you will. He's spitting bars. I'm not going to dispute that. He's spitting some heat. But where my issue is with Westside is that it often goes into a lane where it's just sound like, yo, I'm going to get in the booth and I'm just going to talk this flyness. I'm just going to talk this heat. And sometimes when you listen to a project, you want to hear cohesion. It just seems like oftentimes Westside get into a vein where he just talks. And I feel that Action Bronson, the Dolphin, is getting into that same vein where they have their niche audience or their clitch group, and they feel that they can just go in and do that. And there's nothing wrong, because the formula is the formula that got you here. But where's the progression? Where's the different sound, the different textures in the album? He gave us a couple of those. He actually sang on the track. He did a couple of different things. Not as much as he did with Pray for Paris, but he did do it here as well. Features, he had everybody from Busta. Slick Rick was actually on 2 tracks. Griselda, Bodie James, Black Thought, Jadakiss, Smoke DZA, Flea Lord, El Camino. A lot of cats were on the album, and they all pretty much did their thing. So Griselda, they're able to get the other MCs to come out and be featured on their project, so that's not a problem. They're rappers, and I dig that. Standout tracks were All Praises, Ish Kabibbles with Black Thought. Of course, 98 Sabres is dope because that's the Griselda camp. Only when they get together where you hear heat like that. The Butch and the Blade with Benny and Conway, and Frank Murphy. I like Frank, and let me go into Frank Murphy a little bit. Each MC on Frank Murphy delivered. All of them delivered. Stove God, everybody delivered on that particular project. The only thing that I would say with Frank Murphy that bothered me a little bit, because if you're going to have a 6 minute plus, 7 minute plus posse joint, the beat was so mundane. It was so redundant. We didn't have a break. We didn't have anything. It just was that same, that same repetitive mafioso thematic, beat, and that break in textures to match each of the voices would have done miracles for that song. It was a good song, but what made it not be one of the great posse hits or features of the year, or better yet, all time, because all of them was spitting fire, was that the beat was just so monotonous. The loop was just, and it kind of, and this is only for me, in my opinion, it kind of took away from what the MCs were spitting, because I'm lost or was in trance in the particular beat. But other than that, it was a decent album. It was okay. I can't complain about it. It does have playability. With the Wrap Up podcast, we have a thing where we wrap or unwrap a project. Where if we unwrap it, that means we plan it. It's a listen. We rock with it. If we wrap it up, meaning we putting it back, deleting it off the library, we can't say take it back to the store no more because we're not buying CDs. You may have the vinyl, but this is I'm gonna unwrap it. But where do I compare this with his other albums? That's kind of hard to say, because if I'm going to compare this to his other albums, I'm going to only compare it to his LPs, not his mixtapes or CDs. So we got Fly God, Pray for Paris, Supreme Blientele, and this one as well, Who Made the Sunshine. So I'm actually going to put this one. I don't want to say last, but I have Supreme Blientele as probably one of my favorite projects. His favorite outside of the mixtapes. Supreme Blientele. I'm going to say Fly God, Pray for Paris, and then this album. All of them are fire albums, but I think compared to the other three, for me, this is probably the lesser of the four. All still dope, all still fire. If I had to give it a rating other than Wrap Up, I'd say it's a solid 6, solid 7. 7 being the production. That Just Blaze track was just with 98 Sabres with the squad. It's just ridiculous. It's whenever Just does something, it always blow my mind, because I always think of Just and that, that Cameron Rockefeller vibe, and when a producer can get outside of that norm, it's just always a plus to me. But where does this album fall short? I don't think the album is falling short. What I'm gonna say, I'm thinking Westside Gunn is falling short. So I mentioned earlier that the lyrics are a little bit mundane. And when I say mundane, and when I mention the mundacity of the lyrics, is they all don't seem to have the same fire. Sometimes it's just to be stupid right now. I'ma sit into the mic and listen to what the mic do. Listen to what the mic do. What the mic do. And you got 5 minutes of that. You know what and it was cool the first couple of times, but I want to start hearing a little bit more creativity. And I know in terms of creativity, a lot of people can have a bias in terms of, I want the sound to be Westside Gunn. That's not what I'm saying. But I want him to step out more in terms of a lyricism or lyrics, if that's what he's going to profess to be. If he's not professing himself to be a lyricist, then that's fine. I just accept this for what you are. But if you're going to be bar heavy or drop dope metaphors or come with something deeper, I want more than I'ma sit in front of my computer, watch the screen go, watch the screen. I'm gonna need more than the Dr. Seuss, if you will, rhymes. And I need to know what the focus is on the album. You can have a lot of cuts and a lot of hits, but where are you focusing me to? What is the driving factor? Is it just gonna be, we just gonna sit up here and we just gonna have dope songs and put them into an album, or if we're gonna have some form or cohesion in terms of what this album is? Are we going to have an album where it's content? Okay, this is what we're going to talk about. Okay, we're going to talk about mafioso. We're going to do mafioso all the way through. We're going to talk about drugs. We're going to do drugs all the way through. We're going to talk about the nightlife. We're going to do nightlife all the way through. And even if you have different segments or different portions of those particular layers of content, you got to mix it and you got to place it in forms of where it makes a balanced project outside of just being, I'm just feel like rapping, I'm gonna put my dopest 11 on this track, because then it's disjointed and it's a mixtape because it's just your favorite tracks. It's not anything that's gonna have playback ability for me. So I think compared to Conway and Benny, that's where Westside is falling short in my book. Still a dope MC, still dope projects, but if we're going to compare him to what Conway did with his last album, which I have as one of my candidates for album of the year, and if we compare it to what Benny is doing, I don't think he's stacking up to the bar that they're continually pushing every time they drop a project. Every time Conway and Benny drop a project, to me, it's better than the last. Whereas with Westside, we're at the same plateau. We're on the same front. It's the same stuff, unless we get features that kind of breaks up the trend or break up the monotony. But once again, dope album. Good project. I rated a good 6-7. I'm unwrapping it because I will listen to it. I have listened to it several times. It's just, and I was speaking with a couple of people on Twitter this morning, and a lot of people had the same sentiment, but a lot of people are still under the vein of, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But my thing is, how long is that going to last before, once again, it gets boring, before it gets mundane, or we're just going to expect to hear a Westside album and take it for what it is? This is what he does. This is what he do. Golden. Let's rock with it. That's it. So let me know what y'all think about that. Let me know what y'all feel about, how you all feel, I'm sorry, about Westside. Leave it in the comments on YouTube. Subscribe, of course, and leave your comment. And let me know where you are with that. Once again, decent project. I stack it fourth, possibly, in terms of his other albums. Once again, it came out Friday, so once I do some more listening to it, it may change. Who knows? We always update when we have a change in the in our ratings. But one thing I also want to talk about before I get out of here is Slick Rick. He shows that you can be a statesman, an elder statesman in the game, and still be able to rock. One thing Slick Rick can do is tell a story, and he told a story on both of the tracks that he was on Prime, and the last one is slipping me right now. I'm sorry, but I can't think of the last one. But he told dope stories through both of them. And one thing I like about Slick Rick, he doesn't compromise his style in terms of who he's with or who he's featuring. He's a flower MC. He's able to get on the track and just flow. I would love to hear more work with him and Griselda's production team, because I think it meshes well. His voice, his cadence, his style all meshes well with what Griselda is building right now. Griselda is a movement that a lot of people either are going to hate it or love it. I think right now, as they stand, they're more niche and coke driven than they are mainstream, and I think they're fine with that, because I'm fine with that. A lot of listeners aren't going to agree or follow with what they're doing right now. Basically, Conway told you on this last project, they're making a lot of MCs rap again, and that's a blessing in itself. You can't come with that whackness. You have to come with something legit and something authentic. Though it's a sound that we've heard before, and it's a staple New York sound, they've placed their own twist on it. If you think of this type of rap, you think of that Queens mafioso rap back in the day when you had the the Cool G Rap, Nas, a young Mobb Deep, a young AZ, a young Cormega, Big Noid, that all had that mafioso type theme, drug driven, the streets driven, low key. You think of a night skateboard, sitting at the restaurant, as Diddy said, eating fish and spaghetti. They all have that same vibe to it. And for me, it's a nostalgia because that's the era that I grew on. The best era of hip hop ever to me was 95, 96. That's when a lot of stuff was coming out that was just pure essence, and I was like 14 at the time. So you can do the math on how old I am now and why my ear probably leans towards this way. But yeah, it's just a move, and I think if they stay true to the craft, and right now I can say honestly that I don't see them changing the formula a lot to appease the masses. You're either going to get on board over here and listen to what we're doing, or you just fall short and you miss out on the heat. I'm a listener that I like to hear lyrics and content as opposed to beats and rhythms, because the beat is just a measurement or a guide to help you to that point, to get you a groove. But if you're not talking about nothing, you're not talking about nothing, and that's in itself. But overall, once again, in closing, it was a decent project. I like it. I can't complain about it. Dopeness. Next week we got a couple of projects coming out. I think I saw that Tuesday we may have something from Cole. I don't know, but we'll keep you up to date on that. Remember, as always, follow us on all social media platforms. That's at the Wrap Up Pod. Be sure to follow, subscribe, click, like, tell your friend to tell a friend. Be sure to follow CasoKicks.com, as well as follow at Caso for all your sneaker needs. And be sure to go vote, man. It's that time of the year where it's getting real serious out here. I was going to talk about Trump, but I didn't have it in me to go there. So just make sure you guys go out and vote. If you're voting early, go do it. Once again, this is Stafford for the Wrap Up Podcast, hitting you with another wrap up short, hitting you with a an unwrap, of Westside Gunn's last album, Who Made the Sunshine. Shout out to Megan Thee Stallion for her SNL performance. And we'll be back hopefully next week with some new topics, some new dialogue, and some new heat. Talk to you later, y'all. One.